Hello everyone, and welcome to All Time Scary. Today we're checking out 5 Mandela effects I consider pretty interesting. These Mandela effects were originally individual bonus videos I made in the past, but I've decided I'm going to make all of my video content available to everyone. So here's a collection of 5 random but interesting Mandela effects. I hope you enjoy. Today we're talking about one of the 7 continents existing on the Earth. North America, South America, Africa, Europe, Asia, Australia, and Antarctica. Varying in both size and location, each continent comes with its own unique features. So here's my question for you. Which continent is the largest? Is it Antarctica, Africa, North America, or Asia? If you're like me, you chose Antarctica. But turns out that it is not that icy tundra, it is actually Asia. As it is now, Antarctica isn't even the largest continent. In fact, it's not even close. Here are the numbers. Asia comes in at over 17 million square miles. Africa comes in at over 11 million square miles. North America comes in at over 9 million square miles. And South America comes in at over 6 million square miles. So, where is Antarctica? As I mentioned before, if you're like me, you assumed Antarctica was the biggest, right? Well, coming in at 5th place is Antarctica, with over 5 million square miles. 5th place, 5 out of 7. That's shocking to me. I would understand if it was 2nd place. So 2nd place I could buy, 1st place is what I expected. But 5th place? Is that what you remember? If you're an American, I'm sure you grew up with that memorable world map showing Antarctica being the biggest place on Earth. But I guess now, that's all gone because of the Mandela effect. Looks like I need to find my childhood teachers and have a talk with them. Very, very strange. I'm assuming everyone watching this has seen a horse before and can visualize all the details that make it a horse. It's a massive mammal that stands on 4 legs. It has a mane of hair and an equally impressive tail. 4 hooves, a big set of teeth. But what about its eyes? Can you visualize what a horse's eyes look like? And specifically the pupils of the typical horse. That is the Mandela effect we're looking at today. So here's your question. What shape are horses' pupils? Are they round or rectangular? I'm sure plenty of avid horse fans out there got this correct, right? Well, the answer is rectangular. It turns out that horses' pupils are almost square in shape, surprisingly enough. Is that what you remember? And if not, what do you think about this? Upon researching this Mandela effect, I honestly had no idea. But the comments were filled with arguments both for and against it, so when I see that kind of conflict, it just begs for me to make a video. But I'm specifically curious to hear from anyone that directly works with or around horses. Their opinions are going to be very interesting. The Mandela effect can seemingly change anything. Even animals aren't safe. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Let's mix it up a little bit and talk about the billion-dollar headphone brand Beats. Created in 2006 by rapper Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine, this brand is everywhere. I even have a personal connection with this brand because I used to install Beats displays across the East Coast, replacing old Beats headphones with newer models, updating their displays and graphics, and changing out SD cards. So when it comes to Beats, I know far more than I ever wanted to know. So here's the Mandela effect. What are these headphones officially called? Are they Beats by Dr. Dre, or are they Beats by Dre? The correct answer for these headphones are Beats by Dr. Dre, just Dr. Dre. Now, when I first heard of this Mandela effect, it was a good long time ago, and I was still working building retail displays. In fact, when I heard of this, I said there is no way. And later that day, I actually had to update a Beats display, and as I looked upon it, there in the graphics was Beats by Dr. Dre. Not Dre, just Dr. Dre. I straight up had a I'm going crazy moment in a random Target. All over the internet, you can find references to Beats by Dre. And not just text, but actual logo artwork. For example, there is a Medium article that uses a Beats by Dr. Dre logo as the photo for the article, but the description underneath literally says Beats by Dre. It's weird residual stuff like this that makes me scratch my head. Weirdly enough, if you look up the history of the brand, the logo, and its design, all of these have seemingly never changed. Not only that, this is one of those Mandela effects that is constantly flipping back and forth. Some people remember it one way, other people remember it the other. So I'm curious to hear what you remember about all of this. Has it always been Beats by Dr. Dre? Or at one point, was it Beats by Dre for you? I can't wait to hear your thoughts. Let's check out a classic fan favorite music Mandela effect. The song we're talking about is called In the Air Tonight, which is the debut single for Phil Collins as a solo artist. At numerous points in the song, Phil would say a specific two-word phrase. One example of this is, I can feel it coming in the air tonight, blank, blank. So my question is, what two words did he say? Is it hold on, or is it oh Lord? The correct answer is, I can feel it coming in the air tonight, oh Lord, not hold on. Is that what you remember? Most of the residue online regarding this seems to be of people's memories, not of actual definitive evidence. So for this effect, I'm going to leave it up to your opinions. Hopefully in the future something more definitive can pop up. One last thing I'll say about In the Air Tonight is that the song has a fascinating urban legend around it. The myth goes that the lyrics are based on a drowning incident in which someone was close enough to save a drowning victim, but did not. While Phil Collins, who was too far away to help, simply looked on and watched it happen. Phil Collins has denied these events and is seemingly annoyed whenever it's brought up, but it's pretty interesting. True or false, the Mandela effect and the urban legend around this song, they're both really fun to keep in your head when you're listening to this song. The Mandela effect not only alters the past, but can sometimes even create events that none of us remember living through or learning about. Just as the Mandela effect can delete something like the Shazam movie that so many of us remember, it can also create. Building off this premise, does anyone remember how intensely awake and on edge America was after 9/11 back in 2001? It was one of the most terrifying tragedies that America had ever faced, and in its wake the world watched and waited for what was to come next. Apparently, we didn't have to wait long, because 2 months later, on November 12, 2001, an airplane crashed in Queens, New York, taking the lives of 265 people. I'm bringing up this tragedy because a large number of people seemingly don't remember this happening at all. Do you remember this? Apparently, American Airlines Flight 587, a commercial airliner, came down because of a mechanical failure and crashed in New York 2 months after 9/11. I don't remember anything about this, and I'm not the only one. I'm always a little hesitant to bring up tragic events like this until enough time has passed so that we can look at them objectively and not through an emotional lens. This crash is obviously a disaster and a tragedy, but the Mandela effect simply poses the idea that some people may not have actually lived through this. That this event was real to some people on one timeline, but to others on another timeline, this potentially never happened. Anyway, I wanted to hear all of your thoughts about this. Is this an actual example of a Mandela effect changing history? Or is this simply a massive case of misremembering? Besides the strangely large amount of people online arguing this event's historical actuality, another interesting residue argument comes from an Atlantic article. This article titled, strangely enough, Remembering America's Second Deadliest Plane Crash. The author goes on to say, the second deadliest plane crash in American history took place just 2 months after 9/11. When American Airlines Flight 587 to Santo Domingo plummeted almost immediately after taking off from JFK. Continuing on in the article, the two authors mention something really interesting to me. I hope you find this quote just as fascinating. 10 years later, despite the magnitude of this disaster, it has been largely forgotten, overshadowed by the immensity of 9/11. This line is so strange to me. If this was the second worst airline crash in American history, why do so many people not remember this or even recall simple details regarding it? Because remember, if you lived through 9/11 and you're old enough to understand what was happening, this event was burned into our consciousness. Most of us can remember where we were, who was there, and what was happening. It was a deeply traumatic event. As for this plane crash 2 months later, I have no recollection whatsoever. Yes, my memory is but one anecdotal experience, but the world after 9/11 was vastly different than it is today. We were all glued to our TVs every single day. There were no smartphones, no social media, no apps, no online games, nothing like that. All we knew was that bad people hurt us and that they might hurt us again. Shortly after 9/11, we even had a massive anthrax scare. This event should have registered, it should have stuck, but it seemingly didn't. One last interesting detail is that one article I found talked about this plane crashing into the water. How is a detail like that even arguable? Was this a massive mistake that somehow no one noticed and changed in the last 19 years? Or has this story changed multiple times thanks to the Mandela effect? I'll let you be the judge.